What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. We made it to the end, people. Last episode of North Node, South Node through houses, also known as Rahu and Ketu. And we all know that means North Node in the 12th house, South Node in the 6th house. What's the North Node? What's Rahu? What we're here to evolve into. The characteristics and archetypes we truly need to embody. Our destiny of some sort. You can look at it as a secondary sun or secondary ascendant. What's Ketu? It shows our past. Things, lessons we've learned. Experiences we know. And sometimes like to cling to. 12th house? 12th house is the house of spirituality. The house of isolation. Things foreign to us. Taboo. Institutions, jails, hospitals, etc., etc. The 6th house is the house of everyday life, of self-improvement, of service, of health, amongst other things. Enemies. Alright? So let's get into it. This, I said earlier in the series that, I think the North Node does well in every house. And I really, really do. And I think within every placement, you'll see that you can't evade negative experiences. For every good, there's going to be some bad. Think of the phrase, more money, more problems, right? So, when Rahu or the North Node comes into the 12th house, the first thing you have to understand is that I don't know if I said this in the intro, but it's also the house of losses, okay? You are going to be put in these situations of loss and sorrow, of disillusionment, okay? All in order to see the light, okay? So, I just had to get that out the way because you got to understand that there's good with everything, but there's also going to be, some negative. And with this position, the negative, depending on how your chart is set up, it might come early on. Okay? So I really feel like there's more than 2 types of North Node in the 12 people. But I'm just going to use 2, an example of 2. So for the first person, there's a lot of trauma in childhood. Like, things are real early on. And there's most likely, when this happens, there's most likely probably a square from the 12th to the 3rd, right? So there's going to be some type of secret that you hold early on or that is revealed to you, okay? Now, this can come in the sense of, sexual trauma, domestic, witnessing domestic violence, being abused yourself, right? Or just knowing things at an early age that people don't think you know, right? So what this does is that early on it creates these unconscious fears within a person, okay? Based on their experience, they start to, there's a fear that starts to grow, an unconscious thing that starts to grow. And what this does, and this is going to be for all North Node and 12 people, it gives you this mental stress. Now, in the terms of how I like to teach things, this can be looked at in a sense of like guilt or shame, right? Carrying around that secret, and not really being able to express it. Then, as you get older and you start to experience the rest of your chart, many may become conscious of how the childhood trauma or whatever, affected them. But then there are others who may not. So what happens is you get this real theme. Now, this could intervene in your personal relationships, as far as like with romance, family, even colleagues, right? So it's this thing, this is where the self-undoing part comes in. It's these unconscious acts that we do, or these things that we do that can result from, like I said, that early on trauma. And as we get older, we find a way to cope with it. Okay? Now, the way that you're supposed to cope with it, or I would say the positive way to cope with this, is to dive into the arts. Dive into being of service. Okay? But human beings are human beings, and most of us find some type of escape through, a substance, or, sex, or, something that's not necessarily in alignment with who we want to be. So, saying all that to say this, one of the things North Node and 12 people are here to experience is their inner or the unconscious side of themselves, and bringing that from being unconscious to being conscious. Okay? Understanding how your inner workings go. So, it's very normal, like I said, if you've had bouts with, addiction, if you've had affairs, like you may have willingly participated in an affair, the best thing to do, or, you were sexually abused or something like this, the first thing you have to do is you have to find a way to release this guilt and this shame, okay? And chalk it up to experience, because there is no greater teacher than experience, y'all. All right, and that's ultimately what this position does. It's a highly spiritual position, because no matter, even if you're really disabled, you're going to learn a lesson regarding, like humility, humbleness, and all of that. Okay, so your traumas in life, your setback, your suffering is all enabled to help you garner spiritual strength. Okay, now. Ketu, South Node, is in the 6th house. With this, now this is the really, really interesting part. And this is where we get to the real, karma in life, and really looking into your soul memories. If you, early on, right, experience, like I said, suffering could come early on. If you experience being like a sickly child, right, say you could have been one of them kids who survived cancer, had something, your health or diabetes early, this denotes, past life residue coming back over. You could have had a very traumatic death. You weren't at peace in the death in your last life, okay, and you carry that over. And the idea is to, obviously learn about having to take care of yourself, but this plays into that North Node, okay? A lot of what happens here is going to be based, because the 12th house is the house of karma and past life things. So a lot of what happens here is going to be based on, how things went in your past life. So if you come in with a lot of support, okay, and for a lot of people who I've read with this position, I can indicate that a person may have passed away early, because a lot of people will say, I feel this strong connection to children. Right? So what that denotes is that you may have not been able to have children, or you died as a child. Okay? So the next thing with this position is that you are universally supported. Depending on your karma, your experiences are going to, be like tailor-made for you. You're gonna find like a spouse, right? You're gonna find somebody who really loves you. Your career and stuff will be there. But it's all up to you to identify the self-undoing, what blocks you from that. Okay, now the next thing, with the South Node being the 6th house, you're used to working, you're used to being on the go. 12th house North Node wants you to find the love in solitude, the love in isolation. Learn to enjoy yourself and be, because like I said, this is everything that occurs is here to build you up spiritually. All right, so it would be best to really jump into spiritual practices, which most people do at a certain point, most likely after they Saturn return and really get busy, right? All right, so now I want to go to the next type of person, and the next type of person is just unconscious. Rahu is like working